This week, we see the Union prepare for peace. Since 1861, this great nation has been torn apart by conflict, breaking families as sons kill each other on fields that will never again grow. It's been far too long. But advances towards tranquility does not save us from the brutality of battles, so we once again descend toward madness, the perfect bipolar nature of the Civil War. Let's start this week with an area of particular interest, the administration of Missouri. My home state has had a unique history these last few years, brushing off secession despite the wishes of the politicians, being fought over in the first year, since then having its own personal civil war between marauding traitorous bands of raving lunatics and barely organized and equipped militias. This insanity forces any commander of the Department of the Missouri to walk a tiny tightrope. The current commander, Major General Schofield, has not walked that tightrope, instead taking a heavy hand towards all criticism, locking up perfectly law-abiding Unionists. The citizens hate him, and their cries have been heard. Lincoln moves Schofield to the Army of the Ohio, who will take over in February, and Rosecrans will replace him. I hope he will do better than Schofield, but that is a low bar. To move south to the state of Arkansas, we get a continuation of its Reconstruction. Isaac Murphy, the sole man who voted against secession at the 1861 Secession Convention, was inaugurated as governor, at least until a special election in March of 1864, which would ratify the anti-slavery Constitution and choose their governor. A Arkansas delegation meets with Lincoln, who promises to not appoint a military governor. General Steele would lead military matters of the state till the new state government is set up. On the 27th, Lincoln writes a letter to General Steele. Executive Mansion, Washington. Major General Steele, January 27, 1864.
I have addressed a letter to you and put in the hands of Mr. Gant and other Arkansas gentlemen containing a program for an election in that state. This letter will be handed to you by some of these gentlemen. Since writing it, I see that a convention in Arkansas having the same general object has taken some action, which I am afraid may clash somewhat with my program. I therefore can do no better than to ask you to see Mr. Gant immediately on his return, and with him do what you and he may deem necessary to harmonize the two plans into one, and then put it through with all possible vigor. Be sure to retain the free state constitutional provisions in some unquestionable form, and you and he can fix the rest. The points I have made in the program have been well considered. Take hold with an honest heart and a strong hand. Do not let any questionable men control or influence you. Yours truly, A. Lincoln.
But to return to the 23rd, we see a new policy from the executive branch, the free labor system. Lincoln wants slave owners to emancipate the bound, engage with them in free and regular contracts. Lincoln wishes that the ability to recommerce the cultivation of their plantations would offset their anger, and the formerly enslaved would be peacefully liberated and integrated. Same day, we see further moves to reconstruct this nation, as the Treasury Department removed most restrictions on trade in Kentucky and Missouri, a clear claim of control over those two states. Then on the 26th is another economic move towards Reconstruction. January 26, 1864.
I, Abraham Lincoln, President of the United States, having seen and considered the additional regulation of trades prescribed by the Secretary of the Treasury and numbered LI, LII, LIII, LIV, LV, and LVI, do hereby approve the same, and further declare and order that all property bought in for sale, in good faith and actually sold in pursuance of said regulations LII, LIII, LIV, LV, and LVI, after the same shall have taken effect and come in force as provided in regulation LVI, shall be exempt from confiscation or forfeiture to the United States. Abraham Lincoln.
This makes it easier to trade with the enemy, not with Confederates or the Confederacy, but within seceded states and enemy territory. In the zero-sum game of war, it seems foolish to approve trade. The blockade has starved the Confederacy, and while the Union has had a squeeze of products, they don't have the shortages of the South. But there's more to this than the mere economics. It's a sign of strength that the Union is returning the Confederacy to a state of normality. The Union has reason to boast. Final action on the 23rd also involves Lincoln. He receives a letter from his old friend Admiral Dahlgren. The city of Charleston is converted into a camp, and 20,000 or 25,000 of their best troops are kept in abeyance in the vicinity to guard against all possible contingencies, so that 2,000 of our men, fortifications on Morris and Folly Islands, assisted by a few ironclads, are tendering invaluable service. No man in this country will be more happy than myself to plant the flag of the Union where you most desire to see it. The great achievement of holding 10 times your number at bay is worthy of celebration. Charleston might not fall anytime soon, but the siege is worth it. The 25th begins with a simple order to evacuate Corinth, Mississippi, because the West has begun to consolidate its forces around Chattanooga. For 18 months, the Union held the city and its valuable train junction, but now it's left to the Confederates. The other action on the 25th is the movement of 650 novel men, women, and children from Fort Canby to Bosque Fernando. The march is long and dangerous, 4 freeze to death, and God knows how much the other 646 suffered. What a crime. What a disgrace. For the 26th, a small skirmish in Athens, not Greece, Alabama. The 9th Illinois Mounted Infantry repulses a rebel force 4 times their size. It's a small victory, helping to secure territory for the Union north of the Tennessee River. The next thing is a message from our Minister to France, William L. Dayton. I must regret that of the great number of our ships of war, enough could not have been spared to look after the small rebel cruisers now in French ports. It's a matter of great surprise in Europe that with our apparent naval force, we permit such miserable craft to chase our commerce from the ocean. It affects seriously our prestige. This is received by Secretary of State William Seward. This week, 2 blockade runners were captured, one on the 23rd and the other the 28th. But when it comes to seizing or destroying commercial raiders, the Union has been far less successful. This damage to prestige and economy is dangerous. We need the rulers of Europe to know we have the rebellion under control, lest they see it as an opportunity to spread influence. First thing the 27th is a possible future for a fallen general. A telegraph from President Jefferson Davis. Come to Richmond if your health permits. I wish to confer to you. This is for Braxton Bragg. What does this mean? Is he getting a second chance at field command? Possibly a cabinet position or just an advisor? Final action this week is the Battle of Fair Gardens, Tennessee. The 25th, Lieutenant General James Longstreet, the commander of the Department of East Tennessee, orders Major General Martin to shut down Union cavalry operations. The 26th, Confederate cavalry met with Brigadier General Samuel D. Sturgis's force and pushed them back. Sturgis won't give up and orders Colonel Edward McCook to strike early in the morning and destroy the rebels. The gallops are heard through the heavy fog. The sound of carbine fire scares the rebels. The Union pushes them back until 1600 hours before going in with the saber. This breaks Longstreet's force, and on the 28th, the Union pursues, killing and capturing the routed riders. But as Sturgis reaches a river, he sees 3 infantry divisions. Longstreet looks at him directly. He has to let Martin go. But he has one final opportunity. He rides towards Brigadier General Frank C. Armstrong's cavalry division, a stranded Confederate right for the taking. As the cavalry rides close to Armstrong, they are hit by artillery and musket fire. They may have been reinforced. Instead of falling back or being charged, the Union keeps up the pressure, pushing on individual pockets of resistance before finally falling back, having killed 60 and captured 100. They only suffered 100 total casualties. What a great victory. And ending the week on a high is Sickles. He opens the morning paper, and what does he see in the New York Times? It is said tonight that General Augur will be sent into the field and that the command of the defenses of Washington will be given to General Sickles. It might not be the glorious Third Corps, but it's a start. He instantly writes to the president. I hope there is good foundation for this statement. He adds that the position would allow him to communicate easily with the influential people who will be in Washington this year. It's a good position as a commissioner. He could defend Washington, organize resistance in North Carolina and Georgia, enable reconstruction in Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Tennessee. The man who is to be the commissioner should be a man of tact and address well acquainted with the Southern people, their press, clergy, politicians, and businessmen, familiar with political movements, the military situation, and the characters of the military and political leaders at the South, the motives which influenced them. Sickles is the only man who fits this. No one understands the politics of the South as well as him. He is the best there is. I hope Lincoln sees that. That's where the week ends, with the new opportunity for the Union to strike on the least famous, but my favorite front, economics. The Confederacy does not seem to focus on this issue as much as the Union. The revenue structures War of 1812 measures with so little food. People are starving and the Union just isn't. They can afford to loosen the blockade to raise the morale of its own citizens. CSA might be fighting for independence, but I doubt it could survive even in a time of peace. Hello, it's the entire Civil War Week by Week team here. I hope you enjoyed this week's video. And if you did enjoy it, please give it a like. And if you have any suggestions, please comment them below. I am always looking to improve anything from the set, to the editing, to most common, the speeding cadence of my voice. But most of all, I hope to see you next week.